No, I actually think a little bit different. It's one. You were saying one drink isn't going to hurt. One drink will kill me. One
Amazing.
drink will ruin everything that I have worked so hard for on this journey.
And welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another episode of the Unbreakable Podcast Network. I am just delighted. I have my good friend Earl Thiessen back with us today. Really, lots of really great things happening with you. But Earl, let's talk about it. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Sector is extremely busy. I am attempting to start couple new programs in other cities. I've been helping Eastern
Oh,
Canada with a bunch of stuff. So yeah, it's busy. Sector is always busy. There's no breaks until we take them.
wow. And so let's just get our listeners and our viewers caught up. I mean, you remain to be one of our number ones in terms of our podcasts, and people really resonated with the first time that you were with us. And
Well,
so maybe
thank you.
just a quick overview of who you are and what it is that you do. Like, what are you doing in Eastern Canada? Let's just talk a little bit about Oxford and introduce
Yeah,
our listeners back
100%.
to that.
I love talking about Oxford House. I am
Good.
the executive director still. And alumnus always. Started my journey with Oxford House 19 years ago as a resident. Pretty much went through every position after I was offered the support worker role. And that's actually given me a lot of hindsight on the gaps, and everything. Recovery is evolving. The culture is evolving. Drugs change. Society has
Mm.
changed. COVID really did a number on us, right? So, but and I'm helping other organizations out in Eastern Canada. Two organizations actually, Guardians of Recovery in Newfoundland, and then Positive Heart Living in New Brunswick. Do the same thing we're doing here.
Fantastic. Well, and you've had some really profound moments that you've shared over the past, you know, I would say 6 months. That I keep tabs on you on LinkedIn, and recently I just saw that you were gifted some really nice gifts and a feather. Like, can you talk a little bit about some of the work that you're doing that's bringing people back to self or tradition?
It's quite amazing. I feel so honored and blessed to be able to be in this position, right? A young lady that she was making, blessing little smudge plates and everything. She was from actually BC, and she came out here and it didn't work out. She was on her way back, so I wanted to support her. So I had bought a bunch of those to gift when I go out to see ministers or MLAs or the like. But I bought those to support her, and then she actually opened up, told me a bit about her story, and it really really resonated with me. Partly because she's disabled. Two, I'm
Mm.
on Premier's Council on the Status of Persons with Disabilities, and she moving from BC to Alberta when you're disabled is night and day with the services, and that's why she
Oh
had to go
yeah.
back. So I just helped her out a little bit, and then she said, she was leaving. She asked if she could stop by, and that's when she gifted me the feather and everything. And it was something she made. It's a smudging stick,
Beautiful.
and I just used it yesterday for the first time. Blessed her and prayed for her for a safe journey to BC, and that everything will be fine there. But it's things like that, and I don't want to say small things because those things to me are
Mhm.
massive. when
I
when
agree.
somebody takes the time to make something for you that's culturally respectful, it means the world to me when that happens.
So maybe give folks a bit of an insight in terms of what does it mean when someone gifts you a feather? I mean, I was so delighted. I did some work over in Saskatchewan. I got two things that were provided to me as gifts. One was Indigenous art in the form of a drawn feather, which was really powerful to me. And the other one was a hoodie and it says Big Auntie Energy. And I was like, yes, I made it. When I get to be a big auntie,
it
you laugh because
a
it's
lot
amazing.
a lot of it is it's respect, right? And
Hmm.
it's honoring you as as a person, as a human being, right? And that's when she gave me the explanation of what it meant, why she picked what she picked, and gifted it to me. It really touched me because I just do. I found my purpose when I started my recovery journey, which to me
Yeah.
is to help people just like me. And when she explained, everything was, I guess, I don't want to say inadvertently, but is describes me, my purpose, what I do, how I feel, why I
Mhm.
do what I do, right? And it's never for recognition or for gifts or anything, but it just happened organically. And sometimes I'm pinching myself. I'm just going, what's going on here? 19 years ago, I was sleeping under a bridge, freezing, right?
Yeah.
Withdrawing. And now I'm here. I'm going to Ottawa because I was invited to a public health forum on mental health and addiction. I was just invited to the Western Premiers Conference. And sometimes I sit there and I go, why me? Right. And then
Yeah.
I think, as we all say, why not me? I'm no different from anybody else. But
Bingo.
to me,
It's
it just shows the what I guess what I worked for, which was my purpose. I don't even know if work is the right word.
Well, and I think that like it was interesting because I've through Unbreakable I've started to work with people, right? So I'm having conversations with individuals. Lots of people are coming back and providing their feedback on the book. I'm having a lot of dialogue with people both online and in person. And one of the things that kind of came up and has come up is a lot of people are striving for different goals. And it's super interesting. We have 3 athletes that we've started working with in the Unbreakable realm. And they are, we're going to be doing quite a bit more with them. But one of the things that it isn't, it's not performative. Right. Like I don't do what I do and participate in the community the way that I do for any recognition. That's not what it's about. It's about, um, like kind of the thesis of Unbreakable is to create ripples, right? We look to find people who have opportunities to heal, to grow, who are maybe walking the same path that we have walked in the past, whether that's addiction, whether that's abuse, whether that's weight loss, whether that's self-confidence and learning how to love yourself. Like there's all of these different things that are coming from it. And I put some really deep thought into it the other night as I was thinking, and I was like kind of planning, how do I want to talk about these athletes that we're working with? Because they're not sponsored by Unbreakable. That's not the point, because that's not what we're doing, right? And the 3 athletes, one is in rodeo. One is a lady who wants to do a bodybuilding show and she wants to go through the transformation category. And the third is a Special Olympian. And it's, nobody's exchanging money. It's not about that. It's about how are we investing and how are we putting our fingerprints and our legacy out into the world? Because I
Mhm.
think, and the work that you do is so critically important because I think that so many people who fall into addiction have never had people who treated them with kindness, who didn't give them the skills of resilience, like being able to solve a problem or even have emotional regulation, because they
Mhm.
come from places where something is broken, right? That's why we turn to addiction, whether
Yeah.
that's an addiction to food, alcohol, drugs, pornography, like whatever it is, something isn't right in us where we're actually feeling those positive dopamine hits and that connection to self or the connection to culture.
Mhm.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think that when you talk about purpose, Earl, I mean, like, that's my number one value. Why do I exist? Why am I here? Right. And it's to love people.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I fully believe when my childhood trauma started that I disconnected with self.
Yeah.
I disconnected with who I was. I lost all self-esteem, self-worth,
Mm,
all of it. It was gone. And then that's when I started putting on the masks of
yes.
who I thought I should be, who I had to be around a certain group of people, right? This is the person speaking now is Earl, right? And I say
Hmm.
when I went to Sunrise and I reconnected with my culture, that was the missing piece. And then I reconnected with myself and started loving myself. There was an exercise that we did where the our counselor would say, I want you to sit in front of the mirror and I want you to look yourself in the eyes and say you love yourself and that you're proud of yourself. Nobody could do it. You would turn away, you would laugh, your eyes would go down. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the first time that I believe I made eye contact with my spirit, and that this and this
Wow.
both connected, right? Because it just felt good to say. I felt
Yeah.
proud to say it, and it just another, huge spiritual awakening, we say, for myself, going because I didn't know how to connect. I didn't know how to regulate my emotions, right? I regulated my emotions with this,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
That's emotional. Right? So,
that's not
so
how you
where
do
were
it.
you? Where were you? No, certainly not. Where were you in the point of your recovery at Sunrise? Because I know Sunrise was immediately after you were let out of that period of time where they had incarcerated you overnight. You had the conversation with the JP. You went to
Yeah,
Sunrise, and they had said to you, "Hey, tap the brakes. Ah, okay, we're gonna let you in. You're the guy. You're the guy." So,
yeah.
like, were you a couple of days in? Were you a couple of weeks in? Like, where was that?
I was about 7 days in when I
Wow,
when I
that's
went into
early.
Sunrise. Yeah, yeah. That's where the stars aligned for me by reaching out for help because we don't we're so we're guarded, we're so singular when we're in our addiction, right? That's why a lot of people isolate. But it was
Yeah.
when I reached out on the phone and said, "Look, Gwen was her name." I said, I'm ready. I need help. I was freaking out because a treatment date at another treatment center was in January,
And
right?
this
This
was
was
November,
November
right?
and I was
Yeah.
ready. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the
Wow.
stars aligned for me. And I know they don't for 99% of the people seeking recovery. And that's where the pre-treatment housing model was created, concept was created.
Yeah. I always say my creator doesn't make mistakes, right? And everything is defined to happen for a reason in our lives. And you were handpicked for this. I firmly believe that.
I, uh, I would like to think so. My creator had a plan for me. I had to go through, my education a little
Yeah.
bit different than everyone else, than the traditional method.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, listen, we've started taking a lot of listener questions lately, and I've got a couple of questions that I'd like to share and get your perspective on because I think people would really value hearing your insights. Are you open to that?
Of course, of course.
Excellent. Okay. So, this one's pretty long, so let's go through it. How would one in recovery push through to be a success story like you? We all have some challenges where it feels easier to go back to that hole that feels safe. What are some of your challenges, and how did you build the resiliency to stay on the path to recovery?
You know what? I learned to trust and I learned to love. Uh,
Mm,
it would be so easy to go back. That we all know what that's like, right? I was terrified. I was to say I'm not scared of anything. Well, a healthy fear is the fear of going back to being homeless, to going
yeah.
back to the trap houses, right? It wasn't, to be honest with you, it wasn't a fight for me to stay clean. I just lost my partner. She was just murdered. And I had that conversation with myself and said, I'm done. I had that conversation with my counselor
Hmm.
and she said, don't ever
Yeah.
say that. And I said, no, you have no idea what I've been through. You will because you're my counselor, but I am done. I lost Jackie and that was as much as I was willing to lose to my addiction. I went through the withdrawals,
Yeah.
the horrendous withdrawals, but you just have to remember, I didn't really plan on getting to where I was. We say one day at a time. And I always say, if you're not
Hmm.
walking forward, you're going to stand still, then you're going to take a step back. I've never taken a step back, only to go on vacation. But that's it. I just keep moving forward, right?
Just one
And
foot in
trust
front
in
of the other.
yourself and believe in yourself. That's the biggest. If I can do it, anyone can do it, right? And that's what I tell everybody. That's why I speak to a lot of the residents still. So they know
Hmm.
that they're not knocking education, but I didn't go through 7 years of university to get where I am. I went through 7 years of homelessness and 20 years of addiction to get where I am.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And for me, I mean, like it was, I didn't have the addiction, but the recovery of, living a life where you are always searching for something to close the gap, right? And for me, it was usually bad relationships, unhealthy relationships, right? Looking for validation. I have a saying, actually, we put it on stickers. Validation is for parking. And,
Like
I
that.
yeah, I don't seek validation externally anymore. If somebody doesn't like me, I always say that's not an issue me, that's an issue. And,
Yeah.
it comes down to being comfortable in your own skin. And I think that, you know, the ability to put one foot in front of the other every day is not going to be a good day. How many times do you think you laid your head on the pillow and you thought to yourself, one drink couldn't hurt, and you just didn't move to go get it? Like, did those thoughts cross your mind?
No, I actually think a little bit different. It's one. You were saying one drink isn't going to hurt. One drink will kill me. One
Amazing.
drink will ruin everything that I have worked so hard for on this journey. My kids, right?
Hmm.
They couldn't even. I can't remember. I think I had a root beer, a dad's root beer. I turned the bottle around so it looked like a bottle of beer, and I was drinking it. And the look on my kid's face was unreal, right? And I know
Devastated.
it would. Yes, and I keep that. I recovered for me. That was 18 years ago, right? And I'm happy in my skin and everything, and I'm hoping I'm leading, a good enough life that my kids can see that people change, and I don't judge, right? The person next to you could be
You
going through their
can't.
own hell.
Yeah, you
Don't
can't.
judge, be kind. It doesn't hurt to be kind, right?
No, and it's free. It's free to be
Yes.
kind. I mean, and we're in a world where it is just an unsafe, unkind, psychologically broken place right now. And so I guess that kind of leads me to another question is, are you seeing an increase in demand for your services as we see, economic changes, geopolitical? We have, I mean, we're not exactly in the most politically safe environment in Alberta when it
Really.
comes to being a lower income or a person struggling with addiction or homelessness, right? I mean, like that's not even a question. But like when you think about that, like are you seeing a more significant demand where people are like actually trying to turn their lives around and come away from what it is that's been holding them down?
I would 100%. Going back to what you just said, I think society has gotten very selfish.
Ugh,
It's not about
incredibly.
helping, not for everybody, but society in general has gotten selfish because we
Yep,
were forced to isolate through COVID and all we could do was take care of ourselves. That just carried on. But
I
when it
agree.
comes to people seeking recovery, I would say in the past couple of years, it's probably quadrupled with the people looking for recovery. Not tooting the government's horn or anything here, but when they made services, I'd like to say free, but they're not because taxpayers pay for them. When they made the services at no cost to the people utilizing them, like treatment, detox, pre-treatment housing now, when they removed those user fees, that was a massive barrier for people. How are you going to pay for treatment if you're homeless? You're not going to, right? So, it was just once that was all removed, it took about a year or so, but then it just started to increase and increase and increase. And that's why we need more. They're building 10 treatment centers, recovery communities. Uh, we are expanding now with pre-treatment housing. There's a lot of organizations out there trying to do what we do. We've been the longest. We've been around 30 years. So we're the longest ones in the province that provide this specific service, peer supported recovery housing. And we're the only licensed and accredited pre-treatment housing model in North America. And that was created by this formerly homeless guy, right? So I hold that very high. It's you can accomplish anything you put your mind to, right? I love my work. I
Hmm.
love my job. It's not work. I just love what I do. The lady that I was talking about that was going to BC, she actually got denied AISH out here. She was on disability in BC, came out here. They sent her her final payment, then she went to go on AISH, and they denied her. Because I'm on Premier's Council, and there's lots of, we say, invisible disabilities, right? Because you can't see them. Uh, it just seems like it's getting a little harder out here for seniors and people with disabilities. It's really kind of discouraging. I felt so bad for her, just the defeat in her, and she still drove to come and give me that gift, which meant the world to me. I still talk to her, text her. I messaged her, asked her if she made it safe. She did. She's got to live with her son. Her house burned down in BC, so it was and it wasn't an accident. Someone started her house on fire. So she left out of fear, and then she had to go back because Alberta wouldn't help her. So that's a sad truth. There's a lot of good stuff happening, but there also is a downside. Oh, and it broke my heart. She said, I don't like, when I bought I bought 6 of them off her, those smudge trays that she made. And she said, I don't like having this, because she has a dog. She said, I don't like having to decide who's going to eat. And my heart just went, oh. And then I sent her the payment, and I sent her a little bit extra and said, take yourself out for dinner so you don't have to eat.
Well, okay, so the last question that we'll ask, you chuckle because we're just playing a game now, right? So I think this one's a really great, a profound question. And you said something at the beginning of our conversation that you're going on vacation. And, it really comes down to managing and, stopping the burnout.
Yes.
So what is your go-to when burnout starts to hit and you just want to escape it all?
Yeah, I'm extremely bad for that. I'm always on my staff. You take your vacation, and I'm the last guy to do it, right? But
Of course.
implementing pre-treatment housing burnt me out. I didn't recognize it at first.
Earl burns out, he burns out hard. That's what I got. You're gonna have a lot of editing fun with this one, Josie. She's a magician. It's fine. It's fine. Well, listen, you know what? We should probably wind down, get you on your way onto vacation time. But, Earl, I really value you taking the time. And hopefully we can, maybe when you're back from vacation, we can get you back on here and have a more fruitful conversation. Would love for Josie to actually be a participant and kind of have the 3 of us be able to have some dialogue, because I think, there's a lot of synergies between what you're doing here and the stuff that you're going to be working on in Ottawa, and some of the stuff that you're influencing out in the East Coast, which I think is just amazing. And, I guess the one question I would have is, at what point did you see this part of your future opening up to be what it is?
I would say probably about 5 years. You know what? To be honest with you, I almost gave up when I didn't get the position as executive director about a decade ago, because I applied and I didn't get it. And then I was I had to do a lot of soul searching and everything. But then I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm not ready. So I'll learn more. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. And then it just took off. And then I knew when, the ED wanted to make me director of operations, I knew that my career was going to start taking off. And then that's when the pre-treatment housing model concept came to my mind. And then I created it, put pen to paper, and pitched it. And when we approved it, the board approved it. I had to go in and pitch it to the board. But when they approved the pilot, I knew that not just my life, that a lot of lives were going to change because of this opportunity. And now it has. And these homes should be across Canada. And that's why I'm being invited all over the country and all over social media and everything to speak about pre-treatment housing, because there is no concept like it.
No.
And it is the missing link in recovery.
I agree. I agree. I once, I had a friend, he's a counselor for Siksika out here. And we're big subscribers to Indigenous box in our home. We've been, I think before they even launched, and I think they've been around 4 or 5, 7 years now, and we get a box every quarter from Mallory and her team up there. And there was a mug in there one time, and I gave it over to my buddy Buck, and it said, "I am my ancestors' wildest dreams." And when I see you, that's what I think. You are your ancestors'
I like
wildest
that.
dreams.
I like
Wonderful.
that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, one final thought. Why don't you give our listeners a final thought? Think about those people who are maybe looking to make a change, or who are looking at the ground and saying, "Boy, this never gets better," or "It's harder than I thought it was going to be." What's your message for them as we shut her down today?
The biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask for help, right? None of us get through this alone.
Mm,
It takes a team to help us. It takes a lot of people, family, friends, professionals to get us through this, but you are worth it. And that's one of the biggest problems people have. They don't think they're worth any effort, and they are, because I thought I wasn't either. And I was comfortable being homeless. That's not what we were put here for,
yeah.
right? We all have a purpose. And through my reconnection to culture, I found my purpose. But the biggest thing is reach out for help. Don't be afraid to ask. Trust yourself, trust the process. Find someone that you trust and open up, because speaking is healing.
Oh, that's such beautiful, beautiful sentiment to leave people with. Thank you for that. And thank you for joining me today. And so sorry for all of the
It's
the
all good. We'll do
nonsense,
it
the
again.
technology nonsense. And our viewers may not even notice it because Josie's going to take care of it. But I just appreciate when you're willing to just jump on with me and have these conversations. I enjoy you. I love your story. I love your spirit. I think everything about you is what people should strive to be in this world when we're just trying to create kindness and the path forward for others. So thank you again for
Oh,
joining me.
thank you, Kate. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
Yes,
I
of
appreciate
course,
that.
of
Thank you.
course.
And I appreciate you as well, and
Yeah.
Josie.
She's wonderful. Okay, listeners, viewers, remember, protect your peace, chase your dreams, and stay unbreakable.